year, but a bit shite. The Ashton Sims microphone last year worked out a lot better.
John T43 said, Lobby's played well. If they can cut out the silly errors, they'll surprise teams. They have something about them. Gaz Hock, when he plays like that and not a penalty machine, is still a handful. Mind you, they hadn't much to beat. Warrington are doing a Leeds. Thought Failer did a good job again. Who's here?
There you go. Mike Dodd said, so, now I'm worried. An embarrassing performance from a Wire team that looked completely devoid of ideas. Attacking play was too static, too mistake-ridden, and in the end, too desperate. Unlike previous opposition, the Centurions did make plenty of mistakes, but we simply did not take advantage. Credit to Lee, though, their grit and determination in defence was admirable, and they fully deserved their win.
Wire Joe says, there's something wrong with our club at the minute. Whether it was our disrupted pre-season with the flooding, our 3 stalwarts retiring at the end of last year, or perhaps the hangover from that treble we won. Oh, no, wait, that wasn't us, was it? We're doing a brilliant impression of Leeds 2016, though, just without all the success that preceded it. Tonight was a disgrace, an absolute shambles.
Oh, you did get some silverware last year, Joe. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Tiny consolation prize. Lee Whitnell, he said, I see what's happening here. Tony Smith is getting the boys to play poorly so that none of them will be selected for international duty. That way they'll be fresh next year. I don't understand what long con means.
It's a long con.
So, it's a long con.
So you're playing the con out for a long period. It's not like you're just going to pickpocket them.
I understand.
You're setting them up for a bigger loss to you in the future.
It's the long con. Excellent, thank you. Smart, very smart, he goes on to say. Well, the boys stuck to the game plan perfectly, producing another wonderfully dire performance. Keep up the good work, boys. See you at Old Trafford next year, or possibly Blackpool.
Paul Mac _78 said, scrappy stop-start game. Can someone tell Tony Smith that monotonous dummy half running only works if your forward pack is on top, which they weren't here. Lee's big men led by Gareth Hart gave it to them all night. Even Chris Hill and Darryl Clark couldn't stop Lee today. Warrington are starting to remind me of Leeds last year.
There you go. Elliot Wrench said, even though I super brewed a Wire win, I knew we'd be up against it. But wow, Lee did a Wigan and hammered. Devoid of ideas and error strewn, the boys succumbed to another damning defeat. Lee were great. My old hero Hyam still looks the part. They'll be above us at the end.
Bernard JKD said, Adam Hickson of the Leeds Centurions is this week's not knowing the rules dunce, the free play rule being the rule in question.
There you go.
Yeah, he tapped it out dead, didn't he? So losing potentially 40 metres or so of field position from where the scrum would have been put down. I think he was scared that he would have dropped it in the style of Tom Lynham at the other end when the aforementioned Ben Crooks ran through him pretty much. But no, yeah, it didn't help his team out position-wise, but it didn't cost them in the end.
Yeah, but he does get the accolade from Bernard for the week, so congratulations, Adam Hickson. Cutthroat Jake, Warrington Wolves, this is your year. This is your year to cock up more than Leeds Rhinos did in 2016. I'll give them time.
There's
John,
a theme here, isn't
give
there?
them time. Look at all these people, all these Leeds fans hopping on the bandwagon. Like, see, it wasn't just us. Warrington is shit now. Well, it's been 5 games, lads. Let's just see what portion of the final third of the season they play in.
Paul Ludo Lewis said, great performance from Lee despite having the disadvantage of having Danny Tickle on the pitch for the majority of the game.
Yeah.
They now already know they won't finish bottom as they have 6 points, a number witness could only dream of. Why are still on 0 points with a half-back with 0 morals could always look back on that glorious night when they won a friendly against the Broncos. # taking the hiss.
Very good. Look at that. On the subject of fans being bitter at their star players leaving them, did you see the tweet with the pictures of the stickers that the Castleford fans had left at the AJ Bell on the chairs?
No.
So, because obviously they share the stadium with Sale Shafts, don't they, where Dennis Solomona now plies his trade, and the stickers were basically the Castleford Tigers emblem, and then the statement, Dennis Solomona is a money-grabbing cunt. So they put him on the chairs.
Wow.
Scintillating stuff, there you go.
Strong.
Obviously they're letting it go.
Right, the fuggery report from this game before we cover off our views.
It was good old-fashioned rugby league at times, wasn't it?
Glenn Stewart's been charged with grade C high tackle. High tackle, but does have an early guilty plea available, so that means 2 games for him most likely. Tom Lynham, similarly for his lashing out of the elbow, grade C striking charge, EGP available for him too. So they will both probably miss the next 2 games. Get them on the bench in your dream team.
Yeah, but let's give honourable mentions to both Gazok and Jamie Acton, who aren't up in front of the beat this week. So well done, boys. If you were going to say that there was 2 players coming out of this game going to be up in front of the disciplinary, where would your money have gone? Gazok and Jamie Acton.
And Ashton Sims.
And Ashton Sims, he likes a fight, doesn't he?
I would actually be talking about Jamie Acton and Gareth Hock in different ways for their performances in this one. Now, Gareth Hock, the calls for him being considered for England are a little bit...
I think that's...
a little bit of a stretch, but he certainly impressed in this game and took both his tries really well, the way he carried defenders over the line and through force and will scored those 2 tries. Jamie Acton has been brilliant for Lee this year, apart from his Jamie Acton moments. He missed the first game when they lost, and then quite heavily to Castleford, kind of like their worst loss, really. But then has been in since and has performed really strongly when he's not been in the sin bin or had to be dragged off to prevent himself getting in the sin bin. If he can work on putting the aggression into a sensible, managing his aggression properly, he can be a forward at this level, whether Lee stay at this level or not. That's I think how well he's going. I mean, what is he, 25, 26-ish?
Yeah, he's still got time on his side, hasn't he, in the pack, definitely.
I think he's playing really well, and I think that needs to be acknowledged just as much as we acknowledge how much of a shithouse, dirty bastard he can be at times and lets his team down in that regard. When he's actually on the pitch, he isn't letting his, in between those things, he's not letting his team down, and you've got to... I think he, of all the Lee forwards, is the one I'd be singling out the most, not to take anything away from how good Harrison Hansen's been as the leader of that pack, and the big hit he put on for the knock-on that led through to Crooks' try was kind of a crucial moment in the game. It kind of proved just how far Warrington were away from the races, I think, in a way, and whereas Lee had that intensity up, and like Scoot said, Lee never looked like they weren't going to win this game from pretty much from the off. And I think either Barry or Terry mentioned it during the commentary that when the numbers came up and it showed the stats in terms of ground gain and stuff were quite similar, they found it surprising because it felt like Lee was so much more on top and dominating things. And I think that's just like the attitude of the players seemed to be carrying a greater intensity and stuff into the game, and so everything they did seemed to have purpose, whereas everything Warrington did seemed to... It was almost like they were questioning themselves when they were throwing the offload or when they were reading the lines being run and that sort of stuff.
This game for me highlights a couple of things. First of all, the importance and the intangible nature of confidence in terms of the effect that can have on you going into any kind of sporting endeavour, but particularly rugby league, in terms of your execution, in terms of where you focus your aggression and things like that, because Lee Centurions come into this game on paper the weaker side, but on the back of 2 good wins and not surprising wins, but they've earned them, whereas Warrington come in bereft of form and really struggling for ideas. And Lee did that. Lee basically brought the playbook from the last 4 or 5 games, where they come out and they try and blow you away early doors, get a big, get a groundswell going, and then see the game out. And that's what they were able to do with relatively little of anything to have to see out. Really, Warrington were very ordinary throughout the piece, I thought. And credit to that Lee approach, which is to come out and overwhelm you with that aggression and make Lee Sports Village the fortress and make it somewhere people don't want to come. And honestly, if I was a Warrington Wolves player at the minute, one of the last places I'd be wanting to go would be Lee Sports Village on a Thursday night, because you're in for a hell of a battle against a motivated, wily, occasionally grubby pack. And that gets in your head psychologically if you're not completely on top of your game and if you don't back yourself 100%, which this Warrington side, which we'll get to now, clearly don't do. Individually, there are some performers in that team that are doing a lot of work and are carrying the team and doing things right, but it's not coming together in a team performance, and it's the attacking execution that's lacking at the moment for Warrington for me.
And the individual stuff isn't quite enough when other individuals are making mistakes. Didn't help the in-game injury to Kevin Brown when he was cleaned out by the nasty high shot from Glenn Stewart.
Yeah, and that was an awful shot on it.
Yeah, but Lee were the better team. They've stumbled on a half-back combination that I don't think they were expecting to go into the season with, but Ben Reynolds is playing really, really well.
Yeah, and taking his opportunity in Super League, having helped them out in the Championship. So.
Yeah, I mean, when he was on the books of Cass as a young player, and I think he had 1 or 2 games for them, and looked like, if he sorted his haircut out, he might be a decent shot. But it seems that he didn't even have to worry too much about the hair side.
You've got to let this haircut
thing go. It was more getting experience and that sort of stuff. But he's approached the setbacks he had at that stage in his career quite well, and every credit to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's really playing well with his kicking game and stuff. And do you remember, like, when the first couple of games, it felt like it was Drinkwater or bust for the Lee side?
Yeah.
Doesn't feel like that now. It feels like they can play on both sides of the pitch, and Hyam's adding a little bit of energy as well, which is it's good to see. Not that they lacked it with Hood and Pelissier.
No, they certainly have enthusiasm at 9, don't they? So, what did the stats tell us, Mark?
Yeah, so we could have used the same team stats right up from last week for Lee pretty much. They lost on the penalty count again. It was 11-9 this time. A big loss on the team tackle success, 4.6% worse than Wyre's effort, but better ball control than their opponents in a high error game. 12 errors to 18. They won that count, shocking from Wyre. And a much better 1.3 metres per carry for Lee, 240 more metres in total by the end of the game. Even in a relatively low-scoring game overall, it was the attack that won it for Lee, which shows just how bad Warrington are ball in hand right now.
There you go. So individually, who stood out for the Centurions then?
Well, Jamie Acton ran for 132 metres in his time on the field, and Sam Hopkins 116. That's another player who's managed his step up well there. Matty Dawson 105 metres on the wing, Danny Tickle 102 metres, Harrison Hansen 101 metres. So, some big metre gainers, and not necessarily the people who carried all the minutes in that one. So strong efforts. Harrison Hansen's been great for them.
He has, hasn't he? Okay, so on to the Wolves then, Mark. Individually, who stood out?
Well, Joe Westerman's a man that's standing out for them all year so far. In this game, he made 50 tackles, didn't miss a single one of the tackles he got involved in, so controlled things well in the middle of the defence. Mm-hmm. Jack Hughes with 41 tackles supported him ably. Darryl Clark 121 metres did what he tends to do with Matty Russell 117 similarly. Mike Cooper made 101 metres and 4 successful offloads.
Good offload numbers there for Cooper. I don't think it's too far away for Warrington, but they need to do something. They need to get a win quick.
Harvey Levette at halfback isn't the answer.
No.
I don't know why they don't give him a go in the right centre position or in the back row where he's probably more comfortable these days.
Yeah.
And Deck Patton, they don't like him at the moment, but
I know.
I'd have him.
I certainly would over Harvey Levette. Nothing against the young Ranger, but
in the position that you're playing him in, of course.
Exactly.
I think they're missing a little bit of the guile of Toby King as well in the centre. I think he's a creative player, and at the moment the centres are like effort, line speed, and commitment, but not necessarily that much guile going on.
I'm with you on that. Okay, let's get off Warrington then. I'm sure the fans will be happy for us to move on this week and to Friday night then, Mark. Hull FC 32, Widnes Vikings 12 in front of 10,814 people down at the K-Com. Widnes got off to a bright start in this one, and by all accounts and from what I've read, they were leading at one point and had a strong opening stanza, to use a Steve-Oism, but then the class of Hull FC showed big performances from Kelly. Again, another good performance from Albert Kelly and Mai Finu was standing out for the Black and Whites.
Yeah, Widnes scored the first and last tries, but in between it was all Hull FC, as we'll hear now from Scoots28 Matt.
Indeed.
Who said, Widnes came out fired up with decent attacking options for the first 30 minutes or so. Really enjoyable first half to watch. Things started getting niggly in the second half as we scored more points. Shaw looked more himself again, full of confidence under the high ball and supporting well. Minnie, Kelly and Ellis had great games. Green finally ran with purpose, still waiting for Griffin to inspire.
There you go. Rich Langley got in touch. He said another 2 points and another solid performance from Hull. The half-back combination is beginning to gel. The worry now being the niggly injuries which we are picking up. 2 big weeks coming up with Wigan and Warrington side being due a result soon. Widnes and KR
in
the £1 million game for me.
Throwing it forward a lot, isn't it? Neil McEwen said, "Dry bummed again. No idea from standing halves. Need to bring in a replacement for Kev Brown, even if it's only on a 1-year deal."
I'm inclined to let him pronounce his surname however he wants if he's going to use the turn of phrase "dry bummed." So you're all right, Neil. You're in the club.
The strong rumour isn't that